Hello, everyone. Tony Smith here again with you. I welcome you back to our podcast, the Mike Ferry Podcast, the original, which is a great place for us to showcase great agents and great people around the world in the real estate industry. Like us, follow along. If you like what we're doing, we're going to do a lot more of it. This is going to be fun for you guys today. I am pleased to announce two spectacular agents, brothers, DJ and Derek Dalition, and we're going to spend a little time together. Gents, how are you?
Doing great. How are you, Tony?
Awesome. Good. So we always start this with just a little introduction. So you guys, either one of you guys can take the lead on this. But where are you two from? Tell us a little bit about your marketplace and production goals for the year.
Yeah, so not originally from El Paso. We moved around a lot as kids, as military brats. But we ended up back here both when we were active duty and it's home now. And I'm sorry, what was the other question, Tony?
So El Paso, first of all, is a great big place, little community for those of us that don't know much about it. What's going on there?
It's one of the larger cities in Texas, although we're all the way West Texas on the border of Mexico and New Mexico. We've got, just under 1 million people here.
Yeah, and I was actually surprised that you're actually mountain time
Yes.
when we were talking about aligning our time together, you go mountain time and I go, wow, it doesn't I think of Texas as central time, but man, that's clear on the west coast of Texas, right? Right? Good. And so what's the population there?
We're hovering around 800,000,
Yeah.
Tony. And then we're a border town too. So we border up right to Mexico. So we have Juarez right on the other side, which adds, roughly the same amount of people. And then we're bordering New Mexico as well in Las Cruces, which adds another several hundred thousand. Um, but in El Paso, right around 800,000.
Okay, and help me with this. So, between being a border town in two different directions, does that help you with sales? Like, are you selling across the borders?
No, we strictly focus just in El Paso, Texas.
Okay.
And that was really due to the advice of our coach, just to focus on Texas, and become really proficient here, and that's what we've done.
Yeah. Licensed in New Mexico or no?
We're not. No, we
Okay.
refer everything out that's not in El Paso.
Wow. Okay. So it's an 800,000 population. And so we got I can officially get away with this. We talked about this superstar retreat, but this is basically Clark Kent and Superman. And the personalities and all the things match, right? So if we talk to Clark Kent a little bit about this, how many sales take place in El Paso?
I do not know the answer to that, Tony, but I could. I actually know the answer, Tony. Right under 13,000 in the last 365 days.
Okay, so there's a pretty good volume of sales, 13,000 sales in a year, right? Yeah, so there's a pretty good volume of sales with 800,000 people there. Wow, that seems like a fairly high turnover rate. Why is that?
We have a decently transient population, Tony. We have a large government presence here in El Paso. So you've got active duty military, which makes up, decent size of the population and those movers. Then you've also got FBI, DEA, Border Patrol. Those folks are a little bit more transient than perhaps, a non-government employee.
Ah, okay, yeah, because that volume of sales for the population is a little higher than we deal with in a lot of places. Okay, so you're in a really sweet spot when it comes to turnover. Perfect for real estate agents. If there's a transient nature to it, that's more for us. I mean, it sounds to me like people don't stay in a house a long period of time there.
I think it depends, on the person. I don't know any data that would maybe support this also, but our price point, it's a little bit lower than you might see throughout Texas. So I think people coming in, if they settle somewhere, they have a little bit more buying potential and a higher price point sooner on.
Ah, good. So you're fortunate in another way too, where Mike will say, sometimes the size of these commissions around the world slow people down because they get fixated on 20 grand, right? What's your average commission?
It's right under 9,000.
About 9,000 still though. So you guys you're obviously selling in what I would call a little higher than the average sales price.
That's right. We're right around like the 290-ish mark, and the average sales price is right around 253.
Okay, and are you doing this on purpose, shooting highly above the average?
I mean, not like super on purpose. Obviously, I think it's in the back of your mind, looking at higher price points. We do both live and, our office is on the west side of El Paso where we naturally have higher price points. So the business has kind of gravitated there, but we'll go anywhere in the city. Yeah.
Okay. So right now you're taking Mike's advice and just being a transactionally oriented company, not so much commission or dollar volume.
Exactly. I mean,
100%.
our goal will help anyone who has a house that they need to sell.
It's
So,
music to my ears. I
yeah.
mean, in our coaching world, we hear so many people that go, "Hey, Tony, help me get, I want to be the luxury agent in town and I'll sell 10 homes a year and call it good, right?" Well, you guys are in a volume game. How many transactions are you on track to close this year?
We're on pace for about 163 right now, according to the numbers analyzer. We have 82 closed, 16 pending right now.
Yeah. And how long in the business?
This is our fourth full year.
Okay, so this is what's so astounding and what we're so excited about talking to you guys. And I think about this thought, okay, and I'll ask both of you to answer it. Your trajectory for the volume of deals, the number of transactions, is one of the faster ones that we see. 4 years in the business, tracking 163 deals. It's been like a rocket ship. So I'd ask you to, if each of you could take a turn with this and say, what are one or two things that you have noticed about how you've been on that fast track that a lot of agents haven't experienced?
Yeah, I'll take the lead on it. Derek and I, what we now know is that really largely, I'll say, because I have Derek. That has been a huge help in allowing us to grow the business quickly. I
Mhm.
think that it's really difficult for someone who's by themselves to have the consistency and to have the discipline to go into the office every single day. And when I see people doing it, I'm just in awe of it because, I have a gentle reminder 10 feet away from me, hey, I need to be doing what I need to be doing every single day. And there's a saying in the army, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And we're here to go far, and that has been just the biggest blessing that I could have asked for. And the more we work together, the more I realize that.
Most agents scroll. Top agents study. Follow Mike Ferry on all platforms and think like top real estate agents do.
Okay, so there's like this built-in account, like close quarter combat accountability here, like where you basically don't have a lot of room to squirm around and not do what because you're looking at each other every day. And you would say you would attribute that a lot of that to the fast track that you've been on?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Wow.
because it forces me to maintain a really tight schedule. And if at any point, I'm starting to fall off and I look over and Derek's hard at work, I mean, he doesn't need to say anything. I just know, hey, I need to get back to work. We have a goal that we need to accomplish and we have clients who we need to help serve. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, what I see in it is how fortunate you guys are to have each other for that. But I also know that a lot of people watching this podcast don't have that, but they can create it. So
Yes.
the first thing that comes to my mind is you have to find it. Can you find some kind of an accountability that remotely resembles how intense your guys' accountability is? And if
Yeah.
you could get that, that's going to speed up your pace forward, right?
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Derek, what's your thought on it? This is a rocket ship. Like we don't see many people that go from 0 to 170 in 4 years. Why?
Tony, I think we jumped in with 2 feet into the entirety of the MFO system. Had we not been exposed to that immediately, and even before we were licensed, I would say, we wouldn't really have known what was possible. I was thinking about this after we chatted at the Superstar Retreat. Had I not been involved in Mike Ferry, had I made this transition into real estate, I would have thought that success was simply replacing the income that I had as a captain in the Army. We didn't talk about it much a couple of weeks ago, but we had great lives as captains in the Army. We made, right around $100,000 after taxes. A lot of things were taken care of for us. So leaving was a risk. And had I not been exposed to all of the other agents through Mike Ferry, I just wouldn't have known what was possible. So that allowed us to jump in with 2 feet. And then what I would attribute it most to would be the goal setting and going back into the numbers and figuring out, hey, this is what has to be done. These are the building blocks that we have to accomplish to meet our goals.
Mm-hmm.
And very quickly, we figured out that, hey, the goal setting works if you do. And from there, for lack of a better term, we were really off to the races when we figured out, hey, we can set a goal and we can do the amount of work to accomplish it. And then we just kept kind of increasing the goal and setting it higher and putting in the extra work to get there. Yeah.
It's crazy. This you touched on so much within that just is music to my ears, because you said exposure.
Mm.
There's a lot of people now that during COVID, they started working from home, and then they work from home, and they used to come to 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 Mike Ferry events a year. And then after COVID, they said, well, I'm going to go once a year. And then so the importance and the value of creating that exposure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm convinced, and I think about this right now, if I picked you two up and I moved you to Manhattan Beach, California, you would have some shock factor about the marketplace and the competition and all those things. But that exposure for you guys would cause you to elevate your game, and you'd have it. So anybody watching, if they're not getting the proper exposure to bigger, better, broader things, they're missing the boat. And then you said set a plan, and you figured out that you can just simply create a business plan and hit your goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You got a great coach in Joe, and what do you guys do throughout your coaching together in regards to that business plan? Are you guys looking at it every week? How are you tackling this thing?
We have it on the whiteboard where we can see it every single day. Yeah. And then, Joe's a master business planner. I mean, truthfully, Derek and I, sometimes we step back and we think about it, like, he's so detail oriented in helping us develop something that's achievable. It stretches us, but it's something that we can work towards. And then, he breaks it down. Like right now, we have really a 2-week goal by the end of June for us to get to 95 listings taken. Okay. And he's constantly giving us, a carrot dangling in front of us so that we can sprint towards it, achieve it, and then he'll set another goal for us. Mm-hmm. So we're always talking about the business plan in one form or fashion, for sure.
So you have it, you're being introduced to reintroduced to it every week in some way. It's on a whiteboard in front of you. You set some mini accomplishments, 95 listings by the mid-year mark, right? And then you tackle that. Next thing you know, you and your coach have got another one sitting out in front of you. And you just go from one carrot to the next, and next thing you know, you're there.
Yeah, it's awesome. Just Derek kind of touched on it when he was talking about, what's kind of allowed us to succeed. And I remember the first year we were talking to Joe about, hey, what do we do as far as like goal setting? And he helped us set some like rough parameters and really wanted to let us run to see what we could accomplish. Mm. And then we did it. And then the next year, just the business planning went to a whole another level, and he set goals out, broke it all down on what was needed from us to get it done. And then it's just continued to improve. So it's really been helpful year after year. He just adds in so much more detail at the right time to help us continually level up and help our clients more.
Good. Joe's going to watch this too, and part of what's going on there. If Joe were on the call, what's the one thing you would think on this, Derek, that Joe's asking you to do that maybe you haven't heard yet?
The one thing that Joe's asking us to do.
What's something if I were to talk to him right now, that he'd be, whoops, this thing goes nuts with this lighting in here. This one thing that would happen that Joe's been asking you to do that maybe you haven't quite accepted or adopted yet.
That's actually easy when you repeated the question. Joe is really pushing on us to do one of two things: either bring in a full-time in-person assistant or a full-time buyer's agent. And he's given us a little bit of leeway there, and we've dragged our feet. But that's for sure something that he'll bring up, I would say, once a month, like clockwork. Hey, where's the progress here on this?
Okay. Yeah. So you guys are doing the lift yourselves for the most part. Like, you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting between the two of you with this kind of volume. Do you have any help at all? Staff,
Yeah, we have one full-time assistant and she's
right?
awesome. Yeah, she's great, very helpful, very smart, knows exactly what she needs to do and is, she's really great and she's client facing as well. And the clients really like her, so that's great. Um, you know, Really, we end up working a lot on Saturdays, and then unfortunately sometimes on Sunday as well. And as Joe says, you need to go back and have a life, and you can hire someone to help give that back to you. So that's where that comes in.
Yeah. And it's just okay. So good when we all get on the same page here. So do you guys feel like you're leaving much buyer business on the table because you guys are listing agents? Are you leaving a lot of buyers behind without a buyer's agent?
I don't think so, Tony. To be honest, I think the buyers that we do have, they're direct referrals, past client referrals, COI referrals that are coming to us motivated, ready to go. Um, and that kind of became a minimum standard that we set.
Yeah.
If somebody's coming to us and they're not quite ready to go, typically, we'll have an avenue for them to go on, but it typically wouldn't be, working with us. Right.
What do you do with them? Like what do you do with those? Because you guys have signs all over the place right now. You're only working with the high quality buyers that we recommend. What do you do with those buyers?
We pre-qualify them. So we use the pre-qualification sheet to see, how we can best help them, what their goals, and if we're a good fit. And if it is fantastic, we'd love an opportunity to work with them. And sometimes we're not a good fit or, with their timeline or with, the way that we work. And that's okay too.
Okay, and then do you just refer them out or do you?
Yeah, we'll refer them to someone who maybe is a better fit for sure.
Okay, yeah. So you can refer these out, which Mike has always recommended. So there's some nuances here that is different than the topic that's heard in real estate today. We want to do a whole bunch of business, but it's going to be us, and then we got to start lining up staff and teams and buyers agents and all those things. Here you guys are tracking 163 deals, you full-time assistant and without a buyer's agent with you two. Okay. If you were to advise others, would you advise others to follow your model?
I think it works for us running lean. Part of the reason that we've kept it this way, Tony, is one, it's been super efficient, right? We have one assistant, one point of contact. She's supremely qualified. But the part of that we haven't really discussed is, we've chosen to keep, our business this way because DJ and I do spend so much time here in the office. We're working quite a bit. And for us, it allows us to really dive into that work. We don't have to worry about anybody else being here. It's the two of us. We focus on that. So if that works for somebody, I would recommend it. Because I think, it's minimal moving parts, which allows you to be efficient.
Yeah, which it's obviously profitable too. You guys aren't in a space where you can go throwing money around the streets with your average commission. You have to be aware of the dollar. You can't, I mean, you have to be efficient and effective with it. At the same time, I follow along with Joe a little bit. So let's play devil's advocate for just 1 second. Your rock star assistant, which she sounds like a rock star.
Yeah, she is.
Because you guys are how many pendings is she managing right now?
16.
Yeah, 16.
And how many listings are out there on the streets right now?
11 active right now.
They got 11, 16. So your stuff is turning really nice. You don't have a lot of dead wood. It's all excellent. But she says, you know what? I'm moving to Hawaii, leaving tomorrow. Which one of you two is going to do all the work?
Oh, that would be DJ Tony for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, you have had that spot where a little redundancy might come in order, right? You got a big thing going. There's a lot of volume here. You've proven that you're going to be consistent producing deals and stirring up stuff, right? And a little redundant. And everybody that's a long-term coaching client with us that's built volume like you have had that moment where staff runs out and says, I gotta go. And they leave, and then you're like, oh no, for like 2 months pulling your hair out, right?
Yeah.
So probably a little bit to Joe's advice to step in that regard. Now you guys had you both had this military upbringing, which is phenomenal. How did the military help you most transitioning into real estate?
Well, I mean, it's a really good question, Tony. I think that there's some degree, of discipline that you're going to pick up from being in the military. DJ and I were both college athletes as well. I think that really helped us.
Mhm.
And just I would say, Tony, that what all of those things truly helped us with was, once again, exposure to different leadership styles, to different leaders, to teammates and peers. And I think that more than anything helped us with versatility in a way, right? We had to come in and we had to kind of be chameleons and fit into these different roles that we just found ourselves in. And so I think that transition kind of created us to be somewhat well-rounded. And there's a lot of room for improvement. I think versatility is still probably the number one reason that we lose business. But I think that if I had to attribute one thing from that background, it would be the versatility and some discipline as well.
Yeah. And then at the same time, I don't know what the stats are, but how many people come out of the military into the world of real estate? I can't imagine it being huge because you're trained in the military to go do something and you go do it, which is special, right? DJ, is there any part of being in the military that you think is not a benefit as you become a real estate agent?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think probably more so for Derek, who is in like a command position where you kind of say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and it gets done. You go from that role into really and you're still serving people, you're absolutely serving people. It's just in a different way. So I think it's taking the back seat a little bit throughout the transaction. At the end of the day, it's the seller's home, and they're hiring you to give advice through the process, but they're the decision maker at the end of the day.
So you can't come in there and go, pick that up, clean that up, march around there, Mr. Seller.
Exactly.
Here's the price, take it or leave it. That doesn't work, right? So did you guys have any skills training in the military that applied in what you do, like what we learn how to say and do? Was there any of that at all?
Not really. I will say the one, and I call it a skill, that I learned in the military is to not be afraid to spend time at work. I think a lot of young soldiers, we all want to go to work and get home as fast as we can. But in the Army, I mean, you're there until you're released. And that is something that I think it's hard to put my finger on it, but it is a skill, being able to go to work and just be fine knowing I may be here until 7 o'clock at night. I may be here for longer than that. And it just is what it is. And that's your job. I think that has really shaped, my ability to be able to come to work and just to continue working until the job is done.
Mike Ferry Events, where top producing agents get sharper. The original real estate coaching. Get registered today and invest in yourself.
Wow. Okay, that's big. Back when I started 100 years ago, it was not uncommon to have agents in at 6:37 in the morning, and the lights were in on the office, and there'd be 15, 20 agents in working on something at 7 o'clock at night. And that was virtually every real estate office up and down every street in North America. And then today, the poor brokers, you could fire a cannon through their office at 10 o'clock in the morning. You're not going to hit anybody. And then everybody says, I got to go home and I'm going to do something at 3 o'clock because it's like that, right? So just pure good old fashioned work ethic.
Right.
Like work ethic today, which is really a special thing in our industry for sure, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. I challenged you guys at the Superstar Retreat, and I'm not going to let off the challenge because it's you guys have been on this fast track that's there. What's going to stop you from breaking through 200 transactions, 100 each?
Well, I don't think anything will stop us. It's probably just a question of how quickly we can get there. And I think that's going to largely depend on how we structure our business, with some additional assistance probably to allow us more time to get out there, find business, and ultimately just help more people.
Yeah, I think the way that we get there faster, I was listening to Mike from 2012 today talking about how to increase your business. And it all goes back to the service that you provide the clients. If you provide the clients the highest level of service, your business is going to grow faster. And I think we just need to really double down and continue to try to provide the best service that we can, and we'll get there. And I do think we'll be there in 2 years.
Yeah, I believe this too with you guys for sure that you could do that. You guys have proven to be kind of the grinder type mentality where you go out and knock on 100 doors and knock those just listed, just sold, and that's the foundation of your business, which I know. Um, have you had any challenges at all with doing that and also then building and working a database of people?
For sure. I think I mentioned we didn't call our database at all. And I think we were 6 months or a year into the business, and Dan Mum comes and sits next to me and we're eating, just sits right next to me. It was just me alone at a table. And he's asking all about my business. And I'm telling him, and he's like, wait a second, you only did how many deals from people who know you, they like you, and they trust you. You're selling more real estate than probably 90% of the agents in El Paso. You're doing your friends and people who know you a disservice by not reaching out to them and letting them know. And anyway, we had actually just sold a friend of ours home that had expired on the market for 6 months. And they were incredibly grateful that we had reached out and said, hey, we can get your home sold. We got it sold in a couple months. They literally were ranting and raving, and it all just kind of hit me. Dan was right. This experience is right in line with what he's saying. And so now we are starting to touch base with our clients because of that. So yeah, we're trying to do a better job, Tony.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being grinders and going out and hammering away on the streets like you have. That's a fundamental skill that it's harder to teach than it is to have you adopt the database, to be honest. So
Yep.
you've adopted that skill, but then as true workhorses that go out every day, that show up and look each other in the eye, this database is the pathway to sky's the limit kind of stuff, right?
For sure. I mean, I was actually Mike in the podcast that I was listening to was talking about you in 2012 and your production and what was coming from database. And he was going through each person and what they were doing. And it just hit me like, hey, these are people who've done a really good job for their friends and their past clients and taking good care of them. And that's continued to serve them in such a positive way. So yeah, we know what we need to do.
You add that into the mix. Well, you guys, it's always a treat with you guys. I can't wait to follow along, see what goes on with your career. We'll see you in events up and coming. This group that's watching this today, I know is going to get a ton out of your prime example. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah, appreciate
Yeah,
it.
so for those of you watching this podcast, if you like what we're doing, follow along with what we're doing. Mike has got a lot of people queued up, a lot of great things. We're going to keep bringing this kind of stuff forward for all of our benefit. I learned a lot. Hope you guys did. Derek, DJ, we'll see you out there in the trenches.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.